Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're doing something a little more intimate than usual. As focus learners, we're constantly tackling complex data and really dense theories. But today we're actually deconstructing the most complex system of all, and that's human connection. We're going to break down the anatomy of a truly beautiful story about two people named Ryan and Emma. And by looking at the structural components of their journey, we're going to uncover some incredibly profound truths about how we relate to one another. It's literally the ultimate question, isn't it? What is the real secret to lasting love? Philosophers, poets, scientists, they've all debated this for centuries. We're constantly bombarded with fairy tales and rom-coms that feed us this one specific version of the answer, which usually involves, destiny or some flawless magical spark. But the brief anecdote we are about to explore holds a remarkably grounded, structural answer to this whole philosophical question. It strips away all that Hollywood magic and leaves us with the raw, everyday mechanics of a genuine bond. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. The Power of High and the Friendship Foundation. So, every massive thing starts with a microscopic catalyst, right? And their story began in a place of quiet, everyday routine. A library, where Emma sat completely alone every single afternoon. Notice this gentle chronological progression here. It absolutely doesn't jump straight to romance, it builds sequentially. Point 1 is simply observation. Ryan noticing her sitting alone, afternoon after afternoon. It takes a certain level of awareness to truly see someone in their isolation, Then, point 2, the catalyst. One day, he finally gathered the courage to just say hi. Think about the immense bravery required for that single tiny word, the risk of rejection, the disruption of her quiet time. But because he took that risk, we arrive at point 3, laughing and sharing dreams. They entirely bypassed that superficial small talk and started laying down the structural steel of mutual understanding. And that effortlessly led to point 4, where over time, they became best friends. A rock-solid foundation was fully poured before anything else was even built. Now we get to section 2, risking it all. A complication arises. Well, a foundation of best friendship is a beautiful thing. But as time passed, a really profound complication arose in their system. Ryan realized his feelings had actually evolved. He had fallen in love, but he was afraid of losing their friendship. Let's just pause right here for a second. Let the emotional weight of that statement truly settle in. This is the ultimate vulnerability. When you've built a perfect foundation with your best friend, introducing a totally new variable, romantic love, well, that threatens to collapse the entire structure. The stakes literally couldn't be higher. If he speaks up and she doesn't feel the same way, he doesn't just face romantic rejection. He loses his confidant. He loses his dream share. He loses his library companion. He loses his best friend. It's that paralyzing hesitation we all feel right before a massive leap of faith. Which brings us to section 3, the confession, a leap of faith. So we finally arrive at one specific evening where that agonizing tension finally breaks and the dynamic between these two best friends changes forever. This is what Ryan ultimately said. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I like you. Just look at the raw honesty of those words. There are no grand, sweeping declarations of eternal destiny. There's zero pretense that he has everything figured out. He just openly acknowledges the absolute uncertainty of the future. He's completely vulnerable, offering only the terrifying, simple truth of his present feelings. And it's a courageous leap of faith precisely because it doesn't try to control the outcome. And then the release of tension. Emma just smiled and replied, "I've been waiting for you to say that." This back and forth captures the absolute turning point of their entire story. The risk actually paid off. The feelings were totally reciprocal. All that time he spent in fear of ruining the friendship, she was quietly sitting on the other side of that exact same divide, just hoping he would build the bridge. It's a beautiful, triumphant moment. But, if this were a movie, this is exactly where the screen would fade to black and the credits would roll. In reality, though, this is just the end of the beginning. Let's look at section 4, the daily choice, post-confession reality. So the crucial point is we are moving out of the fairy tale confession and into the real-world application of their relationship. What actually happened from that day forward? Well, the post-confession reality is almost never a flawless dream. Let's look at the reality. First, they faced every challenge together. They operated as a unified front against both external and internal friction. Second, their story wasn't perfect, and honestly, we really need to normalize this. Even the strongest foundations have cracks. Even the best relationships experience turbulence and conflict. But the third point is the anchor. They chose each other every single day. Love, in its most functional, realistic form, isn't some static state you just achieve and forget about. It is an active, recurring action you take. And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate philosophical thesis of the source material we've been unpacking today. On one side, we have the myth, finding the perfect person. This is entirely passive. It implies you just have to search and search until you magically find a flawless puzzle piece that requires absolutely zero effort to fit. But on the other side, we have the reality, choosing the same person again and again. This is intentional. This requires acknowledging someone's flaws, recognizing the very real challenges of the relationship, waking up every single morning and actively making the conscious decision to stay, to build, and to love. True love isn't a discovery. It's a daily commitment. Which leaves us with this final, vital question for you to consider. How do you apply this intentionality to choose your relationships every single day? Whether it's a romantic partner, your best friend, or a family member, how are you actively opting into those bonds rather than just passively expecting them to survive on autopilot? Think about Ryan's courage to just say hi. Think about his bravery to risk his comfort zone, and Emma's willingness to build a beautifully imperfect life together.